Welcome to the Coffee Clutch, social gathering for good conversation. It has been some time since I have put out a video, and that's just because life has gotten so busy. However, I came across a quote the other day that was absolutely inspiring to me. And this isn't one of those old sayings, rather it's a quote from G.K.Chesterton. And for those of you who are not familiar with G.K. Chesterton, his Wikipedia page will tell you that Gilbert Keith Chesterton was an English writer, philosopher, lay theologian, and literary and art critic. He has been referred to as the Prince of Paradox. Of his writing style, time observed, whenever possible, Chesterton made his points with popular sayings, proverbs, and allegories, first carefully turning them inside out. Chesterton created the fictional priest-detective Father Brown and wrote apologetics. And I personally find Chesterton rather difficult to read, but I love his quotes, and his way of thinking is so succinct and yet rather different. And the quote that inspired me for today was his definition of adventure. And he writes, "An adventure is only an inconvenience rightly considered." I love that quote, because we can go along in life complaining that maybe if we didn't have bad luck, we'd have no luck at all, or this has gone wrong and that has gone wrong. Things didn't turn out the way we planned. We say those things quite often. But according to Chesterton, it's more likely that you just haven't considered all those inconveniences just properly. Because when properly considered, you realize that life is an adventure. And it isn't always going to turn out the way you plan. And how you live your life and how you perceive your inconveniences is going to affect how you live your life and feel about your life. One of the most memorable family vacations we had was a trip to Colorado from St. Louis via Mississippi. Now you might ask yourself, what are you talking about? And that was because we had a whole series of inconveniences. But especially with time, when we've considered them rightly, we realize what an adventure we had setting out that early Saturday morning, 8 kids in the van, our luggage rack on top, and off we went to go enjoy a couple of weeks in the panhandle of Florida. We had reservations in, I think it was, I'm not sure where we were in Mississippi, to tell you the truth, but I know we had reservations at a La Quinta. And there we were driving the wee early morning hours. We knew it was going to be about a 9-hour day. And we had heard that there was a hurricane coming, but the hurricane had about 5 different routes it might take, 5 different paths. And we were hoping and praying that it was going to miss the panhandle and we were going to be able to go right into Florida the next day and enjoy our vacation. However, it became more and more obvious as the day went on and time went on, and we saw that the highway going north was packed with cars, and ours going south, not so much. So in time, we were listening to the radio, and we realized that they were evacuating. They were evacuating Mississippi because of the hurricane's path, and it became pretty imminent that it was going to hit the panhandle and affect Mississippi as well, and they get a lot of flooding and tornadoes. So they were evacuating. So I thought, oh my goodness. And my husband was like, well, it's still not supposed to hit for a couple days, so we're just going to go ahead, plow down. We're almost there. We're just going to go ahead and go to La Quinta, spend the night, and we'll turn around and come back. I thought it was a crazy idea. However, The evening went fine. We were in a restaurant. We had the restaurant pretty much to ourselves, and while it was still open, they were planning to be closed the next day. The kids enjoyed themselves. It was pretty empty, so they didn't feel as confined as you sometimes feel in a restaurant with a bunch of kids. The ball game was on, and they were enjoying themselves, and we just enjoyed a dinner out. Went back to the hotel. We slept, got in our car the next day, and headed back north to St. Louis. On the way, we stopped in Tennessee to spend the night because 2 long days in a car with 8 kids is pretty rough. And as luck would have it, I called my sister, who I know has a vacation home in Colorado, and asked her if by any chance we could use it, if it was free the week we were going to be there, and indeed it was. And she most generously and graciously told us we were welcome to spend our time there. So we spent the night in Tennessee. Again, we tried to make it a fun evening. I know we went swimming, and we, again, went out to dinner. And going out to dinner was very much a vacation treat in our family. So the kids were enjoying that. Then we drove the next day back to St. Louis. We switched out some of our clothing because now we were going to need jeans and sweatshirts and hiking shoes. So we switched our things out, got in the car, and drove 16 hours out to Colorado. And do you know, that vacation is one that's been a wonderful and fun memory to all of my children. I can laugh a little bit more looking back because we did spend a lot of time driving, but we did make the best of it. And I was not familiar with this particular quote, but it was most applicable to the situation. We really just had to put a different spin on what we were doing. We had to reconsider our plans. Our plans simply weren't going to turn out the way we had planned and wanted them to. But we had to kind of look on the bright side of things, and we were together, we were enjoying meals out, and we ended up in a beautiful destination. So at the end of the day, our adventure was quite well worth the trip. But at that moment in time, it was a little disconcerting exactly what we were doing. But it is a lesson well learned, and one that I hope you can consider in your life, that when things aren't going the way they planned, and often they do not, that rather than feeling like everything's against you and you know the only luck you have is bad luck, and having that very negative attitude, maybe it's exactly the time you have to consider, what is my adventure and where's my adventure taking me? And look with some excitement towards where you might be going. And like he said, an adventure is simply an inconvenience rightly considered. Words worth thinking about. I hope you enjoyed this. Push the like button, come back to see us, subscribe, and hopefully it won't be so long until the next time. So you all enjoy your cup of coffee and enjoy your day.